and to the old members that have found their way back to the community. I need you just as much as you need me. I'm very excited to be here this evening. This afternoon, I was very thrilled that we had so many people that came through during the live earlier when we did our technical analysis. This evening, we will be doing a wider range of technical analysis, including and spotlighting XRP as usual, with the fact that I don't believe this move is necessarily done yet, as it looks to try to come up to that rising channel resistance from February 27th that we broke down out of and initiated an almost 13% drop. I still think we're looking to get that resistance at 66.6 cents, and that could be a catalyst for another flash drop, or we could push through there and signify that we have a little more strength than we thought. Further than that, we're going to go through Bitcoin and its technical move that still looks like it's trying to accomplish here, and I would be behooved if Bitcoin didn't at least come up to 69,200 and double top there, and then prove whether or not that 10,000 point drop with that handle was big enough from 69,200 down to 59,200. Now it's corrected its way back up and currently sitting at 67,133. But I'm also excited because we're going to read about a couple things here when we get through this stuff. We're going to read about a judge who basically calls out the SEC and says they're very vague, and it's very hard to tell whether or not you are going to be on the wrong end of their... Well, I'll go through it after we get done with the technical analysis, but it's pretty interesting what this judge says. And it's starting to bring out the truth and the vagueness and just the uncertainty of whether or not you're actually breaking the security laws, because the SEC doesn't even know the laws to begin with. So a judge actually calls the SEC out in a roundabout way, which is nice to see. But furthermore, we're going to go over video from today when Jerome Powell was on being testified on Capitol Hill, basically. But he talks about the economy and the inflation. So we'll get into that. That's about a 5-minute clip that we have to watch. And then I have a clip of Gary Gensler from about 3 weeks ago when he talks about how crypto is rampant with fraud and how regulators need to do something about it. And it's about a 5 to 6 minute video that we have to watch. So we have a lot of stuff to go through today. The front end will be loaded with technical analysis. But if you stay until the back half, we'll go over not just what the judge said. And it's not a judge from this case, which is interesting. So that's why I find it interesting. But we'll go over... Julie, do you see my phone?
Is it on the kitchen counter?
I don't know. We'll go over what the judge says, but we'll also go over, like I said, about Gary Gensler and Jerome Powell, what they had to say as well. And Jerome Powell was from today, so that's just hot off the presses. And then I don't even know where I put my water. Hold on one sec. And then it's probably on the counter. Okay, thank you, Julie. And then we'll go over the technical analysis with XRP, Bitcoin. We'll look at the XRP market cap, and then we'll bounce around a little bit if we have time. But we have a jam-packed live here this evening. So I thank everybody for being here. And please make sure to hit that like button so YouTube will recommend this live. It'll really help us push through the algorithm and allow not just new members, but old members that might not be seeing us through the feed because of the algorithm not picking it up. They'll find their way back home. So let me timestamp this because we have a lot to go through. And I'll say hello to everybody, if anybody, in the comments in just a minute. So good evening, 6:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, March 7th, 2024. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in on this Thursday evening. My title's a little different, so I didn't put anything about technical analysis in the title today, so we might have a smaller crowd, which would be kind of welcome for the topic at hand, but we'll see what happens here this evening. There's just so much to go over today. So Juan, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 1 month with the XRP, or the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. That is my face superimposed on there, so I thank you so much for being in month 1. GF Mezzo, welcome in, my first bull run. I'm excited. I've watched the other 2. Interesting indeed. George, welcome in. Tom, most of the times I watch you, I can't get much comments, and because I'm working, but you have the best show. God bless. I really appreciate that, my friend. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch, even though you're working. JW, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. So many comments starting to come in now. Captain Crypto Morgan, welcome in. Wow, welcome. George Papa Nicolo, I appreciate that comment as well. Let's see. Devin, welcome in. Appreciate you being in Tom's Army for over a year, my friend, with the I Told You So badge. Tanya, welcome in, and thank you for also being in Tom's Army for over a year with the I Told You So badge. We will take a look if we have time as well into H-Bar to see the progress. The Gatman, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over a year yourself with the I Told You So badge. That hair is looking good. Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. For anybody who doesn't know who's new, I have not cut my hair since July because I said I wouldn't cut it until XRB hit $1. And that was 8 months ago. So that's the earliest I said I'd cut my hair, and I like to do what I say. XR Raptor, welcome in. I appreciate you tuning in as well, my friend. Joshua and Matt, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 5 months with the XB Meteor. CJ2 Pilot and Mo, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Wow, welcome in. Love you too, my friend. Love you too, my friend. Adobo Algo is pumping hard, Tom. Yes, it is. We updated Algo earlier, but we can update it again. It's up 9.17%. As most of you know, if you were part of the FOMO Fridays or Winning Wednesdays, we did $75 a week until we were trying to get to 10,000 Algo before it got to over 10 cents when that rotation ended. And we ended up getting 7,700 tokens for just under 10 cents. And now it's looking absolutely spectacular. So everybody who was there with us doing that, kudos to each and every one of you, because we're up about 100 and... Where are we at right now, current times? About 183% up. So that's a good spot to be. Adobo, yes, it is pumping, and we'll look at that in time. Johnny Styles, thank you so much for the $13.99 update. Holy smugolies. Thanks for the updates as always, my friend. He says, you are welcome, Johnny. Thank you so much for that. What a cool way to pay it forward there. Jorge, welcome in. Light Switch Tom, thanks for tuning in and being in Tom's Army for 2 months with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Alex H, welcome in. Can we have the sun, please? Ooh, maybe. We shall see. Unfortunately, we have a lot of stuff to go through today, so we'll see how it goes. UB2 Saab, welcome in. Much love to you, my friend, and welcome in. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the 589 badge. That's our meme genius there, UB2B. You have to be an oldie to understand. So, Adobo says, just want to say thank you, Tom, for guiding. I got to see the rest of that, but guiding us broke-ass minions. Mr. Bo Shangles, what's up, Tom? Hope you've been good. Thanks for always being here. Oh, I have not checked any. I didn't even know anybody sent me anything on Cash App. Thank you for sending something on Cash. I'll have to look at that, Mr. Bo Shangles. Thank you for that. Let me see this real quick. I want to make sure. He said he sent me something on Cash App, so I want to make sure that I can see and thank him properly. Oh, here it is. Thank you so much, my friend, for the $5 on Cash App. I do greatly appreciate that. All right. Thank you for that. I greatly appreciate that. I'll read that after what you put. Kwame, welcome in. Thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for 1 month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens along with Harvey. Thank you both so much. So XRP, what we're looking for, because we've got to get through this stuff, guys and gals. We don't usually have as jam-packed of a show, and I'm going to try to mix it in between with what we have with Jerome Powell and what I want to show you what Gary Gensler said a couple weeks ago about how regulations need to be imposed on crypto. Because you'll see what he says. He's such a... Well, we all know he's a tool, but we'll see what he says. But right now, XRP, I'm still looking for that little volatile push up. And I still think it wants to come up here. Maybe it bounces off the 20, we don't know. But I still think it wants to come up here to try to finish this push up. The farther on it consolidates, the higher up that uptrending resistance is going to be. And that could push it all the way up into here around 67.6 if it goes far enough. Right now I'm looking at the double top here at 66.6 cents. Yes. Gary Gensler, or Gary, our favorite friend. Yes, indeed. UK Phil, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3 months with the XRP Meteor. I greatly appreciate that. So that's what we're looking at very clearly with XRP. We're stuck in the middle of a rotation, so it's not like we can really say much more than that. We broke out of this rising channel that started on February 27th of this year. And it only took about 10 days for it to fall out. And then we had the big drop to 53.2, which is a nice liquidity grab. These are typically how we can grab and garner the attention to move farther up. But we need to see if we have the sustainability here to be able to just make a full-on push. If we look at the market cap, it gives us a lot of ideas of what we have to hold at 33.96 billion. That is the pivot point over here. And if we can hold that, that should help give us the push to at least retest these areas. I'd like to say we could come up to 38.9 billion, but that is purely going to be indicative on Bitcoin if it actually gets over 69.2 and fulfills the technical move to about 71,000. And just so everybody who hasn't seen this can see what I'm talking about. On Bitcoin, let me get rid of some of this, because we've already come out of a lot of this. So like the technical moves here have been filled. That's been filled. That's done. This is done. That's pointless. That we can get rid of. That 66,283 is very important. 69,000 pretty useless because we actually hit 69,245. So it's either we're going to double top there or we're going to fulfill this technical target after we fell down here, what ended up happening. And some of the patterns and other of the altcoins have already finished this. We kind of came out and created this. So what we're saying is the technical move measured out is up there at 71,000. So if it does play out like it looks like it is, we should come up there. And that could exhaust it. And then we'll see if that is a big enough handle there. Or if we have to put in a handle like I put on there as well, coming to 55,000. Because that's where the broadening wedge we broke out of, and we haven't tested it as a support area yet. So if it did come down, I just was theorizing that that would be maybe our first chance to come down and hit somewhere in that area. But we did build a 10,000 point handle. I just, in my opinion, what we're trying to build, I don't know if that's enough consolidation we did. So I'm being cautiously optimistic here that Bitcoin is going to end up setting a trap here, and this will probably end up being a bull trap at the end of this. But we'll see. We'll see exactly what Bitcoin tries to do. In the 3 hourly, we've put in what looks like a small possible. It was disguised as a reversal, but it still looks like, to me, there's a little more top end pressure, but I don't know. We'll see how Bitcoin decides to do this. It definitely has a technical move to come. One could argue that maybe it's putting in an inverted hammer candle disguised as a bearish hammer. I don't know though. Because could that be an inverted hammer, or is that a gravestone doji? To me, it looks more like it's disguised as a gravestone, but could be perceived as an inverted hammer on a nice V-shaped recovery here, and on that little support side on what you could say is an inverted right arm if you're looking at it that way. But there's a lot to be desired here on XRP's chart. There is a lot to be desired. Well, with XRP's chart, but it's because Bitcoin hasn't finished its move. So there is a lot to be desired with XRP, but we've got to watch Bitcoin too. Hey, DJ Sugarberry, you're welcome. You're so welcome. And if you are watching, please make sure to hit that like button so YouTube will recommend this live. It really does help more people reach this community. More than I think most realize, because YouTube will recommend the video the more likes there are. Yeah, it looks like it's got to go up. Like I was pointing at 71, but I wouldn't mind 72. It's definitely got to go up one more leg here, though, it looks like. And then that's when we'll decide if this handle is big enough. If it goes up, let's just say 71 or 70. He's saying 70, or they're saying 72 in the audience. So maybe it goes to 72. Then we would need it to hold. Then you would, well, technically you'd want it to hold if it does this. You want it to hold 69,200 and then push back over whichever level was that first resistance, and then it could push out. But if it breaks up, holds the 69,002 whatever, that could signify the push up, and that could mean the handle was actually big enough. So this was one of our two scenarios. If it does hold it, okay, just please be safe. Okay. If it does hold it, that's our one of two scenarios of how we can break out of this as a bullish handle. If it's not big enough, then we just double top here and retest. And you can have an overzealous run over, and then it would just pull down. And then you could get something like this in the grander pattern. If it did give us an overzealous push, you could get something like boop, back down, it breaks up, and then it comes through, and then you're like, wow, how did we not see that? And then when you start looking at it farther down, you could clearly see how you've got that nice head formation, and then it came up to a tip. So I just want to make sure everybody's very optimistic, but they also are cautious about this. I wanted to go over real quick before I forget ZIL, because we talked about it on the earlier update. It was at about we watched it go up from like 3.5 to, I think it was 3.53, back down to like 3.51. Then when we were logging off, it was 3.527. I just talked about how I felt like ZIL was in a nice position to break out. It's starting to expand on what we were talking about. And I think ZIL is meant to at least come up to that 3.78, but I think it could be destined for higher. But that initial push here suggests that we should have about a 7 to 8% move to 3.78, and I think it's undervalued right now, ZIL. At its current level, I think it's undervalued, and I think it had its big liquidity grab, and it built this beautiful consolidation, and this looks like a beautiful, tailor-made V-shaped recovery with a bullish recovery, and now it's starting to break out. I expect it to rotate up. I think this is uniquely positioned here. Every time it had a push down, push down, push down. Now it's consolidating. Now it needs its next push. I think right now, like we were saying earlier, somebody's lined up for a nice move there with ZIL. Nice move there with ZIL. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep watching this as it goes. Be cautiously optimistic. And somebody said with Casper, absolutely. Casper's up 8.75%. Casper is starting to have its move as well. As Casper, just understand with Casper, this could have been its bullish handle. If this is what it decided to do, the handle, now if it breaks up, we should be coming clear to the next stage at about 5.4. So yeah, Casper, some of these ones that we've gotten into too, they're starting to look nice. This is calling for a move to about 5.4. Yeah, I'd say 5.4 is fair. 5.4 is fair, I think. So, but yeah, that's with Casper. I'm trying to get through some of this stuff because we have a lot of stuff to talk about with what the judge said. And then we got a few videos we got to go through as well. So please make sure to hit that like button so that YouTube will recommend this live. If you're looking to trade XRP, whether spot or leverage, look in the pinned comments below. It's for BITUNIX. If you're in the USA or Canada as well, they have the lowest spot fees and leverage trading fees, at least in the USA. You don't need a VPN if you're trying to buy it. And they have XRP there, which is the most important thing. They have XRP, and they never took it off the exchange during the unregulatory uncertainties with XRP. So it's a nice change of pace. They don't go down in the I times of volatility. And unlike Uphold, which I love, the fees are the lowest you can find in the USA with spot and leverage, and what I've experienced. So it's a nice spot to be. So make sure you don't overlook that in the video description. I know I don't talk about that kind of stuff a lot, but it's at least there in the pinned comments for each and every one of you to take advantage of. Don't get hammered on fees. Just don't get hammered on fees. That's why I'm trying to help everybody. And then like Uphold doesn't have futures or leverage trading, that does, so you can do both things in the same place. Just be careful. The market cap for XRP is at 34.31 billion. We're looking at the market cap here, like we were saying, as long as we hold 33.9 billion, XRP at some point, and it might just come up here for a top at first around 36.5, but at some point, we're going to seek out that 38.9 billion. It's going to happen at some point. So whether sooner or later, with Algo, it's at 28.1 cents. Algo, we knew a long time ago back in the summer when we did FOMO Fridays and Winning Wednesdays, I wanted to buy when it was in this falling channel right here. What some could say is an expanded bear flag when it comes up. But I wanted to buy before it broke this rotation, which we did. We had an average of 10 cents. And I told everybody if you bought, you could have the easiest 200% rally of your life. Has this not been the easiest 200% rally with very little? There has been no downside pressure for us. Zero. So right now we're up 181%. That target still remains from long ago. We're looking at about 30 cents. Just looking at about 30 cents. What's the cheapest buying crypto on sites? What do you mean? For me, what the cheapest I found is on BITUNIX. BITUNIX, it's in the video description below. Click on that link. Go right to it. I made it as easy as possible on the pinned comments. Go take a look for yourself. But yeah, that's for Algo. Uphold does not have the cheapest fees. Uphold is crazy expensive. That's what I was trying to say. Uphold, the fees are enormous. BITUNIX, that's it. That's what I'm telling you right now. That's what I pinned in the comments. That's all. That's it. Shiba Inu, Shiba hit top 10. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all because Shiba had a nice little rally. It's been struggling the last couple of days, but it had a magnificent pump of what, 300-400%. DGB's up 4.48% at 1.493 cents. DGB's had a fantastic run so far. And it had a bullish consolidation. And now if it continues running, we should be heading up to the 1.8. As long as Bitcoin doesn't reverse here and lose 66,200, we should be okay. It's just if Bitcoin invalidates this move up and starts breaking down, that could make it interesting for crypto. Johnny, Stratos, I would have to look at it after. I don't know if we're going to have time today. I've already been rambling on for 22 minutes, and I've got so much stuff to go over today. If I have time at the end, try to remind me, but today's one of those days where I have so much stuff that I'm trying to cover here at once that I don't know. I just don't know. XLM has broken out of the short term. We still need to get over 15.9 cents. But Johnny, remind me if we don't do it today. If you send me an email at strutrugali@gmail.com, strutrugali@gmail.com, and remind me of that. I'll look at it on my spare time too, so I can bring it to everybody's attention tomorrow. Oh wait a minute, is that SHX? If you're talking about SHX, I definitely know more about that than what I was just thinking in my own head. But XLM first tier 14.4, and then ultimately, okay, good. So it's something else. I was gonna say it has to be something else. All right, so and then the next move, our technical target right now, ultimately would be 15.1, and then we could try to get up there. So we've still got room to run with XLM. We fulfilled this move already, but right now we're in the midst of the move right here to 15.1. And it looks like it's a little bull flaggy here, just like XRP. Looks like it needs to retest these drop points. So we'll see what happens there. But let's read this right now while we have a chance. And then I want to play what Jerome Powell said after we read this, but I don't want to make anybody else wait any longer than they have to for this. And then we'll get into a couple of the videos here that I'd like to play this evening. I don't often play videos, but I think these are rather important ones, what was said, not just by Jerome Powell today about the economy, but also what Gary Gensler said about crypto. Like, how much more can he miss the mark? And how he talks about how it's basically, he might as well just call it a scam site, a scam entity. So please make sure that like button if you're watching. We're doing very well on the viewers. Not as well on the likes. If you respect my work and you want to see this community grow exponentially, hit that like button so that YouTube will recommend this live and we continue to grow at the pace we are. I'm stunned how many people are here with the title I put in the live. I really thought because it wasn't angled at technical analysis, we wouldn't get as many viewers. But you guys have once again shown me that I am underestimating the power of the people and the veracity or tenacity. So XRP news today. Judge questions SEC's vague rules amidst Ripple lawsuit. XRP gained 3.34% on Wednesday, closing the session at 61.21 cents. Scrutiny of the SEC Bitcoin spot ETF market flows and Fed Chair Powell testimony on Capitol Hill drove buyer demand for XRP. On Thursday, SEC versus Coinbase and Ripple case related news and Bitcoin spot ETF market flows need investor consideration. So on Wednesday, XRP gained 3.34%, partially reversing an 8.6% loss. From Tuesday, XRP ended the session at 61.21 cents. Demand for Bitcoin in the broader crypto market rebounded on Wednesday. The Bitcoin spot ETF market saw net inflows on Tuesday, March 5th, driving buyer demand for Bitcoin in the broader market. Significantly, iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT saw record net inflows on March 5th, ensuring total net inflows for the Bitcoin spot ETF market. However, Fed Chair Powell also contributed to the XRP gains. Fed Chair Powell drove buyer demand for riskier assets during testimony on Capitol Hill. The Fed Chair discussed likely rate cuts later in the year while highlighting the Fed was data dependent. Again, there's that data dependent, or we need to see the data. Monetary policy. XRP recovered from an afternoon session low of 58.93 cents, rising to a second half of 61.68 cents. And that was yesterday, but as we know, today we did rise to just over 63 cents, which we're kind of hovering around that area right now. On Wednesday, Ripple Chief Legal Officer Stuart Elderody shared a transcript from an ongoing case involving the SEC saying, and this is important, U.S. judge highlights vagueness of SEC rules and regulations. I don't know much about this proxy access case argued in the Fifth Circuit yesterday, but when a judge says the SEC's rules are so vague and loosey-goosey that nobody knows whether they'll be at risk, she may be onto something. NCPPR v. SEC. The comments follow a series of damaging court statements about the SEC. While the latest comments may not influence the outcome of the SEC versus Ripple case, they may draw U.S. lawmaker scrutiny. In February, Senator Cynthia Lummis was among 5 U.S. senators who co-signed a letter to SEC Chair Gary Gensler, threatening the SEC with lawmaker scrutiny. The senators co-signed a letter in response to the SEC filing a motion to dismiss charges against DebtBox. The SEC filed motion to dismiss after the court ordered the SEC to show cause why it should not be sanctioned for making false and misleading representations to the court. Scrutiny of the SEC activity has stretched beyond the courts. The Office of Inspector General, OIG, is nearing the end of an investigation into crypto conflicts of interest within the SEC. In my opinion, no greater conflicts of interest than the William Hinman documents and how essentially, you might as well just say Gary Gensler's on the payroll with Ethereum and letting them go under the radar. If the OIG finds the SEC acted inappropriately, the SEC could end plans to appeal the programmatic sales of XRP ruling. In July of 2023, Judge Annalisa Torres ruled programmatic sales of XRP did not satisfy the third prong of the Howey test. The SEC has shown its intent to appeal against the ruling since filing a motion for interlocutory appeal in August of 2023. An end to the SEC plans to appeal the programmatic sales ruling would be a boon for XRP. Updates from the ongoing OIG investigation and SEC versus crypto cases will influence XRP price trends. On a daily chart perspective, XRP remained above the 50 and 200-day EMAs, affirming bullish price signals. A breakout of the 62 handle would give the bulls a run at 63.54 resistance level. An XRP move through 6354 resistance level would bring the Tuesday high of 66.89 cents into play. The OIG investigation, SEC versus crypto case related updates, and Bitcoin spot ETF market flows need consideration. However, a drop below the 60-cent handle could signal a fall to the 58.35 cent support level. The 14-day RSI reading 58.01 indicates an XRP return to the Tuesday high of 66.92 before entering overbought territory. On the 4-hourly, XRP sat above the 50-day and the 200-day exponential moving averages, confirming the bullish price trends. An XRP return to the 62 handle would support a move to the 6354 resistance level. On the other hand, a drop below the 50-day EMA would give the bears a run at the 58.35 cent support level. The 4-hourly RSI with a reading of 47.95 indicates an XRP fall through the 58.35 support level before entering oversold territory. So I thought that was a fascinating read. It's about time another judge questions it's the hogwash within the SEC transparency when it comes to their rulings on what a security actually is. It's too vague. It's too loosey-goosey, as one would say. So that's just something that I found was very interesting that another judge talked about that finally. And it seems to be positive for us, the XRP holders. So I'd be interested to know what you think about that. XRP, we did have the daily close. We just need to talk about real quick 7 minutes ago. XRP's daily close was right under 63 cents. So it was over the 625 mark, but we're still trying to make that push up to 66.6 or 67 cent range. Bitcoin right now, we closed just under 67,000, well over that 66,200 support level that we need to stay over. And Bitcoin does seem that it wants to push up to at least a double top at 69,200, or the technical target right now is just over 71K. So just consider that. We still need to go through a couple things though. I want to go through this, and then who's ever left at the end, because I'm sure because we're not talking technical analysis, we're going to lose most of the audience, but that's okay. I think this is important stuff. So I share it. So here's what Jerome Powell said about inflation here during his opening remarks of the of his hearing on Capitol Hill.
Thank you, Chairman Brown, Ranking Member Scott, and other members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to present the Federal Reserve's semi-annual monetary policy report.
And this was from today, as you can see in the corner.
Today. The Federal Reserve remains squarely focused on our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. The economy has made considerable progress toward these objectives over the past year.
Thank you, Gerardo.
While inflation remains above the FOMC's objective.
Mike, yes, I love DGB. Real quick, and I won't interrupt this again. Mike, I bought DGB at 007. I have 77,700 tokens. I actually love DGB personally.
Of 2%, it has eased substantially, and the slowing in inflation has occurred without a significant increase in unemployment. As labor market tightness has eased and progress on inflation has continued, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals have been moving into better balance. Even so, the committee remains highly attentive to inflation risks and is acutely aware that high inflation imposes significant hardship, especially on those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. The FOMC is strongly committed to returning inflation to its 2% objective. Restoring price stability is essential to achieve a sustained period of strong labor market conditions that benefit all. I'll review the current economic situation before turning to monetary policy. Economic activity expanded at a strong pace over the past year. For 2023 as a whole, gross domestic product increased 3.1%, bolstered by solid consumer demand and improving supply conditions. Activity in the housing sector was subdued over the past year, largely reflecting high mortgage rates. High interest rates also appear to have been weighing on business fixed investment. The labor market remains relatively tight, but supply and demand conditions have continued to come into better balance. Since the middle of last year, payroll job gains have averaged 239,000 jobs per month, and the unemployment rate has remained near historical lows at 3.7%. Strong job creation has been accompanied by an increase in the supply of workers, particularly among individuals aged 25 to 54, and a continued strong pace of immigration. Job vacancies have declined, and nominal wage growth has...
Johnny, I would love to know what your buy-in was in 2017. I would love to know.
...been easing. Although the jobs to workers gap has narrowed, labor demand still exceeds the supply of available workers. The strong labor market over the past 2 years has also helped narrow long-standing disparities in employment and earnings across demographic groups. Inflation has eased notably over the past year, but remains above the FOMC's longer-run goal of 2%. Total personal consumption expenditures prices, or PCE prices, rose 2.4% over the 12 months ending in January. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.8%, a notable slowing from 2022 that was widespread across both goods and services prices. Longer-term inflation expectations appear to have remained well anchored, as reflected by a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. After significantly tightening the stance of monetary policy since early 2022, the FOMC has maintained the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5%, since its meeting last July. We have also continued to shrink our balance sheet at a brisk pace and in a predictable manner. Our restrictive stance of monetary policy is putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation. We believe that our policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle. If the economy evolves broadly as expected, it will likely be appropriate to begin dialing back policy restraint at some point this year. But the economic outlook is uncertain, and ongoing progress toward our 2% inflation objective is not assured. Reducing policy restraint too soon or too much could result in a reversal of progress that we've seen in inflation and ultimately require even tighter policy to get inflation back to 2%. At the same time, reducing policy restraint too late or too little could unduly weaken economic activity and employment. In considering any adjustments to the target range for the policy rate, we will carefully assess the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. The committee does not expect that it will be appropriate to reduce the target rate until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. We remain committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Restoring price stability is essential to set the stage for achieving maximum employment and stable prices over the longer run. To conclude, we understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Federal Reserve will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and
So that's what Jerome Powell said earlier today.
First off,
And not yet, but if you stick around
if
here,
you haven't made money
let's just get rid of
with
this
AI yet,
nonsense
don't
real
worry.
quick.
AI is the biggest
Join us right now.
So at the end here, after we finish what we're doing, probably for the last few minutes, I'll play Gary Gensler, what he said a couple weeks ago, and how he talked about cryptocurrency, and just look at the bad light he puts it in. Like, the guy has no shame when it comes to crypto, and he will say anything and everything to make it look bad and to make it look like the government needs to put in some serious red tape there. So, Julie? Oh, crap. I just spilled water. Will you put his phone on the charger over there? Because it's not charging over here. It got wet a little bit. Spilled a little bit of my water. Sorry about that. Hold on, everybody. Whoops. So yeah, so with Gary Gensler, we'll watch that in a little bit. I just want to see exactly how this plays out. Just real quick with XRP, I just wanted to take a look how the initial momentum is after the flip of the clock here at 7 p.m. So we've got, basically we're retesting back at 625. If we come down any farther, it makes perfect sense. We came back over that pivot point. And now if we have to back test it, it makes perfect sense for XRP. So I'm not seeing anything unusual. If we were to break down out of these sections, well, maybe we could say maybe it's that rising channel is going to cave in, because eventually, if this gives away too much, it's going to rotate back down and we'll find ourselves back down. It's just, I'm still looking for the back test here, but we're starting to form this little bit of a rising channel before we can get up there. So will we get that back test before a further drop is the question. That's the question. I'm still looking at that back test up there. Right now, it's going to be closer to 67 cents as we continue moving up. But it is still based on very, very clearly Bitcoin. It's still based on Bitcoin. Does Bitcoin come up and finish this technical move, which it looks like it's trying to do still? It's consolidating right now. But that technical move is around 71,000. I still think before it breaks down, it should come up and at least double top here at 69,245. Even if it's bearish and doesn't break through, and then it has to come down farther, I still could see, I don't see a way that it's just going to skip out on double topping there. I don't, unless it's just done and it gives way. But it looks like it's set up for a move that'll push past it, at least temporarily. And then if it breaks down, it breaks down. But even the volume portfolio right now in Bitcoin's not great. We don't have a great volume portfolio for Bitcoin, especially in this last move up. We had one little candle, but on the bigger moves up, you can see the difference. Well, on the initial push up, but you can see the burst of volume, then it dies down. Right here, though, we had this one little area right here where we pushed in a couple Bitcoin. We had 2,226 in the 30-minute. But what still concerns me is when we had these exhaustion candles, that was a lot more Bitcoin coming in. I would like to see a push up and finish this off one way or the other. But I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other if it goes up or down, left or right, just because there's been so much volatility here that I think right now the goal is to liquidate the leverage traders. It feels like that right now. And then we get the volatile swing one way or the other. But right now it's just a back and forth, like it's kind of like who's got the most attrition here? Who's got the ability to pay attention to the flows and then understand like where the volatile spots are? Like for Bitcoin, we want to hold 66,283. We've already put the bullish cup in, or put the cup in. Now it's like, was this a bullish handle? I still don't know if that's far enough down to just have a 10,000 point drop. I don't. I feel like it should have been a little bit more for the size of the push up, unless we're not aiming for 130,000 and we're just aiming for a 10 or 15,000 point move. Well, okay, well, maybe. But it still seems like for that big of a move from 2023 that we should have had a bigger move for the cut or the handle. So I'm still watching for that double top scenario. I really am. I believe the trading bots ruined this entire opportunity for us. I don't disagree with you. That's usually how it happens. Bitcoin, if we go to the dominance chart here, Bitcoin dominance is at 53.26% right now. That means it's controlling 53.26% of all the money in crypto. Right now, it looks like an inverted hammer here. I mean, that's almost prototypical, and it's trying to break back through. So then it would test the outside here at 56%. So that would be interesting. That'd be interesting if it starts pushing up on the dominance chart. That would actually be pretty interesting to me. But it feels like we're not done yet. I don't know how else to explain it. It feels like we're not quite done yet. But we'll see just how the market responds here. This is going to be the most volatile stretch here. And if we don't have a big significant correction to start here, we could be coming up to that quick top and see what happens. But it's one of those days where there's no concrete answer we can give. We know we're on the bearish push right now. Unless we do break up on this tap, you know, one should determine that this should play out in the way we're seeing it right now. Unless something changes and we get an influx of volume, there's nothing I've seen that changed my mind here today. So just in that regard, that's what I'm seeing. But right now, I want to see what Gary Gensler had to say. I think it's important to keep up with Gary. I do. But Johnny, that was unbelievable, man. That entry on Digibyte, Diamond Hands Indeed from 2017. Good to see you still have 100,000 of them. And that you're able to, you know, cash in on your opportunity. So let's play this with Gary Gensler. What does everybody think, though? What does everybody think? Do you think Gary Gensler oversteps his boundaries? I see we did a fantastic job hitting the like buttons. I think it's incredible that so many stayed. And yes, today's a little different. It wasn't just technical analysis, but there's a lot we have to tie in to the ebb and flows of the market. Like, there's so much stuff coming through the pipeline right now that as an XRP holder, I'm very excited. As a holder of the ISO and IoT tokens, I'm even more excited as well. But I'm very, very, very excited. So I think if we are patient, if we understand the current landscape, and we understand just the negativity that is going to be surrounding crypto, and then the word of mouth that's going to come out in the negative light, this is what we want. This is what we want. We want to hear the bad news. We want to hear how it's the worst thing ever. We want to hear how it's against the law. We want to hear how it's security and yada, yada. We want to hear all of this. Because in the end, they're going to keep out as many people as possible. But to the ones who who actually push this and actually approach this in a way of education and don't play the victim. You play the winner. You don't play, with somebody else's emotion either in here. You have to play it from the standpoint of love and engagement to where we can all be unified. And when we start doing this, we start to understand the truth. How old is this? 3 weeks old. This is from 3 weeks ago. Gary Gensler said this. So I'm going to play this.
On the set, for the first time to talk about Bitcoin and a lot more, is SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Good morning.
This is right after, to put it in perspective, a couple weeks ago, remember when Bitcoin went over 50K? And now we're sitting not even a month later, it's up to almost 70 when it hit. This is right when it broke over 50. I think it was the day before it broke over 50.
Morning, good to be with you.
So it's a month later, and I think we're all curious about how you think this is going, not just in terms of what's happened to the price, but in terms of what you think is happening inside this market and whether you think it's, quote unquote, working.
Well, look, we focus on investor protection, and of course the issuers raising money. So this product, we've had similar products in gold and silver, ETFs, you call them. They're technically exchange-traded products. And we approved a group of about 11 at one time. This was not the first way you could buy or express a risk in Bitcoin. But as we like to say, we're merit neutral. This was not in any way like an approval of Bitcoin. That existed. It's just how to trade it in these exchange-traded products.
We've had both a futures-based Ether and Bitcoin ETF, before, and I'm curious sort of how you think that this is going to impact the price of these things, given that, by the way, interestingly, was it Pomp who was just on, Anthony Pompliano was just on earlier this weekend, was saying that so few Bitcoins are actually moving, and what we should think of that.
In merit neutral, I think it's a little less than neutral, Mr. Chairman. It almost was, we called it grudgingly when you finally got it. From the court case sort of forced in. Is it really just neutral, or wasn't there a little bit of a, we're not sure about this thing, and buyer beware?
Let me say it this way. We're merit neutral if somebody's complying with the laws.
Okay.
So if they're giving full, fair, and truthful disclosures to the American public, who gets to decide on their investments.
But you're so smart, you're at MIT, and people listen.
See, and this is why I wanted to share this. You see how they're actually forcing him to say something? So at least we're getting some kind of off-the-cuff response. But just listening to his answers, you can hear the corruption in every word. Like, he says that in one breath, but then he won't even tell the truth about, somebody says about Satoshi, but won't even tell you the truth about the William Hinman stuff and the apparent just shadiness that goes on every day when it comes to just what is right for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but also in the same breath how it's not okay for XRP or Ripple. I mean, it's a weird thing, but just listen to how they kind of grill him and then the responses he gives.
What you think about Bitcoin, and it is troublesome to me if I look at it and I see all the merits of it, and someone that taught about it and understands it seems to have an opinion that maybe it's, I don't know, pet rockish or something.
I get your words about pet rocks and so forth, but I think we also have an investor education responsibility at the SEC, particularly about those investments that are non-compliant with either the securities laws or commodities laws and so forth. So here we have an asset class, all of these 15, 20,000 crypto tokens, many of which, without prejudging anyone, many of which are actually something called investment contracts or securities, and the platforms upon which you trade, the intermediaries, they're not like in this building, NASDAQ, that has protections and against fraud, manipulation, and the like.
Just seeing people lose their shirt on with NASDAQ stocks.
You can lose because there's risk. There's risk in investments. But what we try to do as a society is take some of the fraud and manipulation risk out of the markets by regulation.
Is that the problem, though? It's not necessarily Bitcoin, the underlying asset, but more the froth and the potential for fraudsters to use it that has
Well, this is a field, Becky, that's been rife with fraud and manipulation. And look at all the bankruptcies. And you've had on this set people talking about those various bankruptcies. And it's not just one entity, it's entity after entity after entity. And then investors are just lining up in the bankruptcy court.
What do you make of, this goes to the underlying piece of this. You've heard Jamie Dimon say that he would close it down, that basically Bitcoin is, you've seen the comments, right? It's not just that he closed it down, that he would say it's, you know, used by drug dealers and used by folks who are doing all sorts of illicit and terrible things. There's very few things that trade today that people talk about like that. Now, there are obviously frauds and things that happen, but maybe not like this.
Like the dollar is like 100 times more.
Well, I know that's your perspective, but I'm just, I'm curious how you think about that.
That's true, though. This is how much has been money laundered with Bitcoin. This is how much. This is Bitcoin. This is dollar.
Yes, Joe. But look, here's the Jamie Dimon quote. The only true use case for it is for criminals, drug traffickers, money laundering, and tax avoidance. I know, but we have a guess.
Okay, and what has Jamie Dimon ever said that's been truthful? Like, come on now. He's securing the hand that feeds him, which is all of us. So, like, come on now. Jamie Dimon, the fact he would even reference him in this situation shows how big of a tool this guy is. At least the other guy is actually speaking up. Yep. That news, yeah. But I'm just sharing this. I don't watch the news. I'm just sharing this because I found it interesting what they're saying and the way that they shed it into the light, the same way with crypto. But in the same breath, he's going to say the stock market because of regulation doesn't. I mean, come on.
We have a guest, Joe. What is your opinion? And what is your opinion that we have something trading on the exchange for the public that has this type of use case, at least as described by the president of one of the largest financial institutions in the country?
It's the leading market share in ransomware, and that's publicly known. Right. You know, it's the token of choice for ransomware. Joe, if I can say, the US dollar, the euro, the yen, you have the whole society using it as a medium of exchange. We buy our cups of coffee, as I see.
Yeah, okay, but what the guy said about it being just so basically because we inflate the US dollar, that's what he was talking about. Now he's going to go on and talk about how it's a medium of exchange and all this bullshit. But that's true. But at the same time, they devaluize the dollar. When they expand the money supply, everything gets more expensive in the stores. He can spend it however he wants. But when you expand the money supply and you keep printing into oblivion, it costs us more. When you contract the money supply, everything gets less expensive. But as they're printing money into oblivion, the way they put the black tape over it, so everybody thinks they're the good guys, is they say now we need to raise minimum wage for jobs that shouldn't be able to support anybody other than a teenager. And then it undervalues the real jobs in society, the labor jobs, the hardcore jobs. And then it puts everything upside down. Then robots start running it. The smart contracts start taking over. And before you know it, we're in smart cities and smart houses. And I better stop before I get banned.
Here, we get paid in dollars or yen or euro. And you have a whole central bank and support for one currency generally per economic region. That we don't have here. So there's a very real economic difference.
Which is part of the attraction, since it's decentralized, and you can't have a profligate central bank.
It's not that decentralized.
Well, I know you're saying because of the ETFs, but really it is.
No, it's not that decentralized because look how finance tends towards centralization since antiquity. Right. So what do we have? We have a handful of 3 to 6 core so-called crypto
I understand,
exchanges.
but the asset itself, the way that
that's how the
distributed
accounting ledger.
Right, that's how the ledger. And
now, how many times do you have people on this show that say, I want to invest in something because how the books and records are kept? I mean, Joe, really? It's just an accounting ledger, a clever.
It's a ledger that everyone has, and can't be double counted. It's almost immutable. That's why people think it has inherent value.
So you trust it more than an Oracle database, or you trust it more
trust
than
it more than a lot of the Bitcoin bulls say they trust it a lot more than the central bank that enables the fiscal authorities to spend money to the tune of $33 trillion.
That's everybody's investment choice. But
and then I think about how many things can be used in a deleterious way Of course, but that doesn't, it has nothing to do with the underlying thing that you're using itself. I mean, I can go run a car into a parade and run over, 40 people. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have cars, does it?
No, you should have cars.
I wasn't going to use guns because, God, I don't want to trigger, so to speak, anyone on the set. But
when the use case of a particular thing that you're buying and selling as an investment is just speculative investment.
how many of the 90% of the people that own Bitcoin are using it for ransomware? There must be another use case that makes it so attractive to so many people.
Speculative investing.
Right, speculative investing, that's what, okay. Let me ask a separate question, which is just to pivot this, because I think the next sort of order event question is what happens to Ethereum. For those in the crypto world, they all want to know how you're thinking about that. And really, if Ethereum is a security, how does that analysis differ from how you would think about Bitcoin?
What we did in January was cabin to one set of filings. We have other filings, you're absolutely right, in front of us, but I'm not going to prejudge it for you or the audience. That's something that a 5-member commission discusses. And
Gives them all 13 seconds on the Ethereum question. Isn't that nice of them? So that's about what we got here this evening, everybody. I do thank everybody for tuning in. As we can see, we have had a small consolidation to start, but nothing major. Nothing major after the flip of the clock here. When you hear Gary Gensler talk, though, it lets you hear just how big of a scumbag he actually is and just how big of the regulatory uncertainty there is in the United States. Just because we have a lot of interesting characters at the helm. We all know the central banks run the show, but as citizens in the USA, we just don't seem to understand that concept. So we let them divide and conquer us through what's coming up next with the election. And then we go between blue and red and we decide who's better than each other when really we both, or whichever side you're on, you're missing the bigger picture. So that's what they do. And just like with this, they're putting up XRP in one light, but at the same time saying Ethereum and Bitcoin are just it just doesn't apply to them. So, it's just, that's what you call regulatory or regulation by enforcement right there. You have to be on the right side of the agenda. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, because I kind of look at it different, XRP is not on the wrong side of the agenda. This is all part of the bigger play. This is all happening for a reason. So I'm very excited where we stand. We know everything we're looking at. We're looking to see if XRP can come up over 60 or hit that 66 or now 67 cent resistance on the broken falling channel. We're looking to see if either Bitcoin loses 66,200 or it can finish the technical move up to 71,000 or at least double tap 69,200. Other than that, make sure you hit the like button on the way out so that YouTube will recommend this video. If you do appreciate my work, hit that subscribe button so that you can see the next updates and lives. And if you want to show your appreciation, you can always send a YouTube super chat or join Tom's Army. All I ask is one time per month to show your appreciation. And then if you're looking to trade XRP in the USA especially, and also Canada, in the pinned comments below, there's BITUNIX. They have XRP with the lowest spot and leverage trading fees for your crypto. But you also don't have to use a VPN, and that's big for me. They're up in the high times of volatility. So that's in the pinned comments below or the video description if you're watching this after. So take advantage of that. Other than that, I'm watching still with ZIL. That's another one. As it's having its little pushback like we talked, it could backtest this attempted breakout here. So we're watching ZIL very carefully because if it holds this backtest, and it looks like it's trying to do it right now, how far could that come? If it has an overzealous move, maybe 3, 4, 4. But we're going to see if it can hold the backside here. And then if it can, or if it just pulls up here, we should have a nice targeted breakout here with ZIL. It's just, we have to see exactly where it happens. And we can start to see how this is filling out now, right? I think everybody can agree. If we start looking like this, ZIL's starting to show itself now. So this is what we're looking at right now. So I guess the best opportune time to buy would be if it comes down 3, 4, 6, 9. This is going to change it a little bit where the targets will be, but 3, 4, 6, 9 looks like we've created that within this little falling channel now that we're trying to break out. So it's tightening up here. I think it's getting ready for a move. Looks like it might have a small consolidation, but it really does look like it's getting ready to try to push up here. So we'll see what happens here. Take the advice I've given you wisely. I'm not a financial advisor, so make your education or your educational or let's just say a wise and educated move. You know, don't let emotion base it, but also have the tenacity to stick with what you think and don't let anybody talk you away from it. So thank you all so much for sticking out with me this evening. I know this was a little different live because we had a lot of stuff to watch and talk about, but I appreciate all of you.